This week on Emerge News Now.
The stay-at-home order was extended in Toronto and Peel region and North Bay until March 8th. Restrictions in York region were eased. Plus,
hotel quarantine measures for international air travelers came into effect on February 22nd. Why now, and what are some returning travelers saying about the new rules? And
a COVID testing site has popped up in Etobicoke. What's it like? We'll show you around the facility. Emerge News Now starts right now.
This is Emerge News Now with Kristen Wong, Matthew Chong, and Reese Martinez with sports.
The Ontario government has officially extended the stay-at-home order for Toronto, Peel region, and North Bay Parry Sound until March 8th. The decision was made last Friday by Premier Doug Ford after receiving counsel from local public health officials. While 3 regions will remain under lockdown for the next week and a half, York region will begin to ease back on restrictions starting February 22nd. York region will be the only area to lift the stay-at-home order and will move into the red zone, which will allow in-person dining at some restaurants and bars and gyms to reopen with reduced capacity. While the province continues to ramp up on mass testing and vaccinations, Toronto's Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Eileen De Villa, said last week that new infections could surge if the city reopens too quickly. COVID-19 projections released by the federal health officials last Friday predict that with new variants spreading nationwide, our current public health measures will not be enough to stop a resurgence of the virus.
The federal government made it mandatory for all travelers returning to Canada to quarantine in government-approved hotels.
In an effort to curb non-essential travel, this regulation will force anyone flying into Canada to stay in government-approved hotels in Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, or Quebec. In order to comply with the new rules, travelers must pay for the cost of their hotel stay and stay for a minimum of 3 nights while they wait for the COVID-19 test results taken on arrival. Now, anyone who tests positive will be required to stay for 14 days. Now, during their stay, travelers will be unable to leave their rooms unless they are escorted by an official, but are given access to free Wi-Fi, as well as contactless meal deliveries to their door. The penalty of breaking these rules can result in fines up to $750,000 or up to 6 months in jail. Some government-approved hotels at Toronto's Pearson Airport include 4 Points by Sheraton and the Holiday Inn Toronto International Airport. A full list of government-approved hotels and more information on travel guidelines can be found on travel.gc.ca.
The Ontario government is investing $2.5 million in wearable contact tracing devices that will vibrate if the user has come into contact with someone who tested positive for COVID-19. On February 18th, a news release issued by the Ontario government said it will finance technology company FaceDrive Incorporated from the Ontario Together Fund to deploy the wearable technology called TraceScan. The government introduced the $50 million Ontario Together Fund last year to support businesses to create technological tools and PPE to detect and protect people from COVID-19. The company expects to manufacture approximately 150,000 devices and create 68 high-end jobs in the software and engineering fields. The wearable technology will be used in places where people are limited from using smartphones or have no access to the COVID Alert app. These places include airlines, schools, construction sites, and long-term care homes.
20-year-old Hashim Omar Hashi was found dead inside his car with multiple gunshot wounds. And according to police reports, Hashi was attempting to park his car at his apartment building near Jane Street and Falstaff Avenue before being shot by a male wearing all black at around 9 p.m. Ali was arrested in Windsor, Ontario on February 13th and was transported back to Toronto where he was kept in custody. Now, he picked up 6 additional charges, including 3 counts of drug possession with trafficking purposes, but claims he is innocent. Police said Hashi was not involved in a gang activity or affiliated with a gang, so the motive of the shooting is unclear. Now, however, investigators are asking the public for their assistance with any information regarding the investigation. You can contact police at 416-808-7400 or the number at the bottom of your screen to contact Crime Stoppers anonymously.
On February 18th, Gregory Craig, the CFO of Canadian Tire, said that National Sports will officially be closing all retail locations. Press release details state that National Sports, which has been selling sportswear, shoes, and gear since 1968, will see the closure of 18 different locations in southern Ontario. Its parent company, Canadian Tire, made the decision to close the business to reduce overlap with its other sporting goods stores and to focus on more core assets. In a review of the company's performance, Canadian Tire reported that National Sports' fourth quarter profit and revenue were significantly higher than last year's earnings. Despite this, Greg Hicks, the president and CEO of Canadian Tire Corporation, also told investors that his decision to close stores is due to the overlap between e-commerce capabilities. Affected employees will look to be relocated to different National Sports subsidiaries, including Canadian Tire, SportCheck, and Marks.
The federal government is extending many of its emergency benefits as the pandemic rages on. Now, during a press conference last Friday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that the Canada Recovery Benefit and the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit would be extended by 12 weeks. The maximum Canadians can claim is now 38 weeks. Employment Minister Carla Qualtrough urged provinces to, quote, step up and increase their benefits for Canadians in lockstep with the federal government. Now, according to the federal government, the total cost of these increased benefits will be $12.1 billion.
For years now, Canada has supported hundreds of crisis hotlines around the country to support people in need. In the pandemic era, these services have emerged as more crucial than ever. A supervisor at the Assaulted Women's Helpline said that they have already seen an additional 20,000 calls since the beginning of the pandemic, a third of which come from out of province. Now, LGBTQ youth are struggling too. A manager at the Lesbian, Gay, Bi, Trans Youth Line explained that it's not just the volume of calls, but they have reportedly seen an increase in calls from youth who are stuck at home with unsupportive families or abusive relatives. To contact the mentioned hotlines, call the numbers provided. You can also visit the Government of Canada website for a complete list of specialized helplines.
Quebec Premier François Legault has entered yet another divisive ideological debate after he announced that he was joining the, quote, war on woke, which is an international movement of conservative politicians claiming to support free speech on campuses. Now, in a Facebook post on February 13th, Legault said, quote, a handful of radical activists can be seen trying to censor some words and works. We see a movement coming from the United States, and frankly, I don't think it's like us. Now, Legault was referencing concerns about the handling of racism complaints at institutions like the University of Ottawa, where a lecturer was recently suspended after using an explicit racial slur in class. Now, referencing the importance of freedom in speech and expression, the Premier added, quote, this issue started from our universities, and I think that's where we're going to have to fix it first.
On February 8th, Myanmar's new military rulers enabled restrictive measures in specific townships in response to unlawful actions carried out by citizens that harmed the law. The rulers issued decrees to ban gatherings of more than 5 people, peaceful public protests, and imposed an 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew in the country's 2 biggest cities. Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi was detained after the military seized power on February 1st. Marc Garneau, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, announced on February 18th that Canada is imposing sanctions against 9 Myanmar military officials in response to the coup d'etat in Myanmar. Quote, Canada stands with the people of Myanmar in their quest for democracy and human rights. We work alongside our international partners who call for the restoration of the democratically elected government. Garneau's statement continues saying, in part, we echo their calls for the Myanmar military to release those who have been unjustly detained in the military takeover. In an email statement to ENN, Christelle Chartrand, a spokesperson for Global Affairs Canada, told us that the Government of Canada stands ready to provide consular assistance to Canadian citizens living in Myanmar.
Now, despite orders to stay at home due to COVID-19, some residents in Perth, a city in Western Australia, were forced to flee their homes due to the Warloo wildfire.
Named after the nearby town of Warloo, roughly 60 kilometers east of Perth, the blaze destroyed 86 homes and over 26,000 acres of land. And according to the Department of Fire and Emergency Services Commissioner Darren Clem, the fire is now 100% contained as of February 6th. You can keep updated with the current fire danger ratings at the Emergency Western Australia government site.
Okay, now time for a new segment here on Emerge News Now called From the Block. So we're looking at stories from the Etobicoke and Rexdale community. First on the list, we have 3 COVID-19 testing sites that popped up in Etobicoke. Our Luke Ettinger reports.
Individuals living in Toronto who have even one symptom or have been in contact with someone who's tested positive for COVID-19 are asked to get tested for the virus. The Rexdale Community Health Center says there is no cost or appointment required whenever community members attend one of their 3 pop-up testing locations. The Thistledown Community Center has ongoing pop-ups every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There is also testing available on Sundays at the Humberwood Community Center from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the Kingsview Village Church on Tuesdays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. But that was not the case here in Kingsview on February 23rd. The Rexdale Community Health Center said there was a scheduling issue with a TTC bus, and health officials left the site around 12:30 on Tuesday. They do expect that pop-up testing will resume to normal on Saturday. Luke Ettinger, ENN, Toronto.
Here is Reese Martinez with sports.
Thanks, Kristen. The Toronto Blue Jays will be playing their home games away from the Rogers Centre for a second straight season. The Blue Jays played their home games last year in Buffalo, New York. The Blue Jays will call TD Ballpark, their spring training stadium in Dunedin, Florida, home for this season. This is due to the ongoing Canada-US border closures. The team's Twitter account released an official statement regarding the decision for home games. It reads,
"Next to the health and safety of our fans, players, and staff, our top priority is returning home to play on Canadian soil as soon as it is safe to do so. The club has been actively working through plans for what a safe return to Rogers Centre could look like, while also scenario planning alternatives. The Blue Jays will reevaluate the situation, and those circumstances will dictate next steps following the first 2 homestands."
For this week's Student Athlete of the Week, we spoke with Malcolm Glanville, a basketball player from the University of Guelph. Here's Thomas Georges with the story.
Malcolm Glanville is a 4th-year marketing management student at the University of Guelph and is also a member of the Guelph Griffins men's basketball team. Although there was no current season, Malcolm talks about the importance of balancing sports and school.
Honestly, this time management, the biggest thing that has helped me is just not procrastinating. So I tend to do all my homework before the actual deadline, so then it gives me a gap in case I have last minute things that are due. So let's say I have like 4 things that are possibly due on Sunday. I'll make sure I get one of them done on Monday or like another one done on Tuesday or Wednesday. And obviously depending when our games are, because I want to be really focused in on our games. I don't want to really have side distractions because that can take you off your game. But honestly, it's just time management. Like you have your course syllabus, you know when all your due dates are. As a student athlete, it's up to you to manage your time best.
During the season, Malcolm would train almost every day. Since the COVID-19 pandemic began, his routine became significantly altered.
So in the summertime, we only had access to our gym twice a week, when usually we have access more than twice a week, of course. So what I was doing every single day, there's an outdoor basketball court in Guelph, but I'd go out there every single day with me and my other teammate, JL, probably there for 2 to 3 hours every single day in the blazing hot. Doesn't matter what the weather is. Some days we're even hooping in the rain. That's how like hungry we are to stay in shape. So I was training outside, doing ball handling every day, playing a lot of one-on-one, just getting crafty with the ball. Cause like you can train, but you have to be able to produce those moves against a defender, right? And then a lot of cardio. I was running a lot of hills in the summer. And then when winter came, it was a completely different workout. So now it's like we have no gym time at all. We're not practicing. There's no gyms to go to. I can't run outside. We're very limited. So lately what I've been doing is just one of my teammates that lives with me, he got a bike in the basement. It's a stationary bike. So doing cardio on that has been really good. Doing a lot of ball handling in my basement, doing workouts in my basement this last probably 1 to 2 months. So you have to look at your environment and see what you can do. I can focus on what I can't do, but it's like, all right, in the space you have and the resources you have, what can you do? I've been in a lot of contact with my main coach as well, Coach Auroric, and assistant coach Moore TB. He'll send me workouts to my emails because obviously you don't want to be doing the same workouts every single day or on the week. You kind of want to change them up as you improve. So he's been good with providing me some new workouts, and obviously just working on my weaknesses and stuff like that. A big specific for me to work on this year was my left hand, and then obviously my jump shot. Can't really work on my jump shot right now, but I've been doing a lot of left hand ball handling and it's stuff that will just increase that skill of mine. Just going at my teammates and just going at the competition, like game days. Like everybody has that energy when they're going into the game day, right? Like me, like I'm an aggressive player, right? Like I'm looking forward to going at my competition. I'm giving 150% every night. So just having that energy before the game and during the game, like I really miss that. Obviously the fans play a big part. You hit a shot, the crowd screaming, you could drop someone, your teammates are jumping, good highlight plays and stuff like that. But I honestly just miss being in the lab. Like I'm a gym rat. I'm in the gym every single day. So like not having that kind of feels like a part of me is lost. Obviously in your basketball journey, you become a boy, then you transition into a man, right? So coming to Guelph, I'll say the biggest growth I've experienced within myself as an individual on the court and off the court is leadership. I thought I was a leader, but obviously wasn't leading by example. But honestly, this pandemic has allowed me to self-reflect on me as a player and a student athlete.
Thomas Karageorgis, ENN, Toronto.
Multiple student government elections are underway at the University of Guelph Humber, and students will get the chance to decide who will represent them in the 2021 to 2022 school year.
There are 8 candidates looking to fill the 4 seats representing Guelph Humber in the Senate. Also ongoing is the election of the Board of Governors. Now, that election will use a first-past-the-post system whereby the 2 candidates with the most votes are elected. Now, of the 7 candidates looking to join the Board of Governors, 3 are studying at the University of Guelph Humber. Voting for the Senate and Board of Governors closes March 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern, and students can follow the link that was emailed to them. Also, 9 students will be elected from 3 campuses to lead the Ignite student government. The 3 candidates receiving the most votes at each campus will make up the board. Now, students will be able to digitally cast their votes in the election starting March 1st. Voting closes on March 5th, and the winners will be announced at 4 p.m. that same day. Now, although the board of directors are campaigning by campus, if they are elected, their objective is to amplify the voices of the nearly 30,000 students from the 3 campuses Ignite represents. There are 5 candidates at Humber College North Campus, 8 at Lakeshore, and 6 at the University of Guelph Humber. Stay tuned to our Emerge News Now social feeds for more information on the candidates.
To celebrate Black History Month at Guelph Humber, Maya Marcus, the Media Studies Academic Program Representative, organized More Seats at the Table, a panel on being Black in the media industry. Marcus and Media Studies Program Head Kathy Elliott chose 4 media professionals to represent everyone in the media studies specializations. Marcus chose these 4 women because, quote, Black women are probably one of the most underrepresented groups in the media industry, so we wanted to put a focus on them.
If someone is Black, they can see themselves and see that there are people working in this field and they are represented and they can make it despite feeling like maybe they don't belong. And then for anyone else who's minority, they can also relate to a lot of the things these women will probably have to speak about on this panel. And for anyone who's not a BIPOC, they'll definitely be able to understand a little bit more of what other people have to go through.
Marcus wants those that attended the panel on Wednesday to take away that they are welcomed, learn how to be better allies, and, quote, learn how to create spaces for people that maybe don't look like them and care about situations that may not affect them, but still matter. It's the bottom of the hour, time for the top of the news. First on the list, Toronto rapper known as Top 5 was charged in connection with the murder of a 20-year-old in North York that happened on January 31st. Hashim Omar Hashi was fatally shot outside a building near Jane Street in Falstaff Avenue at around 9 p.m. As the investigation into the shooting is ongoing, police are asking anyone with additional information to contact police or Crime Stoppers anonymously. And
hotel quarantine measures came into effect on February 22nd for all returning travelers coming into Canada. Now, the federal government announced travelers will have to quarantine in those hotel rooms for at least 72 hours upon arrival, all at their own expense. Now, 5 hotels near Toronto Pearson's airport have been approved by the federal government. And
the stay-at-home order was extended in Toronto and Peel region until March 8th. Health officials in both Toronto and Peel region asked the provincial government to extend the lockdown for at least 2 weeks. Ontario is lifting the stay-at-home order and easing restrictions in York region. It moved into the red zone of the province's revised color-coded framework on Monday. And now you know the news for this week. I'm Kristen Wong.
And I'm Matthew Chong. Be sure to follow our Twitter and Instagram pages at Emerge News Now. See you next week.
Take care.